Okay guys, so we're going to go over mock-ups in Illustrator. So it's quite a bit the same as Photoshop, but it's a little bit different. And there's a couple other things you got to be aware of. So this video is about creating mock-ups in Illustrator. So what I have here are a bunch of items that we can do mock-ups on, and I imported them the same way I did as uh, Photoshop. I just went to the internet, I right-clicked, copied the image, went back to Illustrator, edit, paste. So that's how I got all these guys onto my canvas. Okay, so and up here I just brought in a couple random logos that I've done in the past, and basically I just drag those in, just drag them in. So I literally just take a logo, drag it right in. Okay. Now again, you can hit Shift and proportionally enlarge and decrease your logo in size. I don't want to see any distorted logos. So people spend a lot of money at creating logos. I don't want to see colors changed and or proportions changed. So, for example, if you put a logo on and I see it looks like this, that's going to bug me. So if a company paid $15,000 to have a logo created, and you go build a website for them or something like that, and you start ruining the integrity of the design, that's a serious sign that you are unprofessional. So keep that in mind. Always maintain your colors and your proportions of logos when messing with them. Okay, so a little quick thing I do want to go over. When you bring in a logo, let's say I brought in this logo. Okay, so let's say I brought in this logo. Do you see that it has a blue X across it? That means that this image is linked to Illustrator. That means it is not embedded into Illustrator. To embed it, you have to click this embed button. But the logo has to be selected. You got to see this blue box and you hit embed, and then that blue cross goes away. Why is that important? Because when this blue X is here, it just means it's linked to a file on your computer to save space, to save file space. So if I email that to my client, they will not have that logo on their machine because it's on your machine. So in order to get it to actually embed into the Illustrator file, we have to hit embed. Okay? So you might do all this work, all these mock-ups, email it to the client, they open it up. Hey, it says that there's missing linked files. And then you have to go to all this work to get them, and it just makes you look like an idiot. So, and we don't want that. So, if you see this blue X and you plan on sending it anywhere in the world outside of your computer, please make sure you embed it. So, I think I explained that well. Okay, here's the other issue. Let's say I bring in some text, or let's say for a better example, let's say I typed out some text. And I typed out lorem ipsum. Okay, if I email this file to a client, they may not have this file, this font, which is called, in this case, system font. So their PC may not have this file called system font. So when they open it, it'll like change it to some other font, some default font, or it won't open it at all. Okay, so they may open it up and it defaults to that font. So the way you avoid this is if it's got an underline, that means it's an editable text. I can go in and change the spelling. Okay, but if I right click and hit create outlines, it converts it to a shape. Do you see how it looks different? Everything's outlined now with a selection. That means I cannot any longer do any of the, it's not a editable text anymore. I cannot change the font. I cannot do any of the things that I could normally do when I have something like this, which is editable. So these are completely different. See, there's a blue underline on that one. That means it's a font still. See, on this one, when I select it, it's got an outline over everything. That means it's been converted to outlines. Now, when I send this file to a silk screener, a sign shop, an embroiderist, a whatever you want, some sort of vendor, when they open it, it will look exactly like that. They will not need the font because it's no longer a font, it's a shape. Very important. Okay, so let's do a couple mock-ups. The logos are quite easy to figure out as long as they're flat. Let's see, so I can drag it on here. I can hit Alt and put it on some different ones. Hit Alt and drag out another one and another one. I can change the font. I mean the size. So pretty easy to understand that. So there's a mock-up for those guys right there. If I take this one, which it's not embedded, I could do the same thing, but it doesn't show up that good on black. It doesn't, and it shows up pretty darn good on this brown. Okay, so I might want to adjust that a little, but let me show you something about one of the powers of having a linked file before I move on. Let's say I made a change to this logo right here. Let's say I made a small change. Let's say the client said, you know what, take the river out. I don't want the river anymore. So I'd go back to my logo and I would take the river out. I'd go back to my logo file. Excuse me. Then when I save the file, I can tell this to be like, okay, hey, these fonts or these logos right here, I want to relink them. So up here, if I just click one, it'll say Stewart Real Estate Company, which is the name of that logo. If I do relink right here, I can relink it with a different file or an updated version of that file. For example, let's say I wanted to use this logo right here, place. Now it will update it, same size and everything, but it will just update it because it's just linked within your system. Okay? So why is that important? Because I can take something that has a ton of logos on it, select them all, and relink them, and maybe they're all different sizes and stuff, and it'll update it to the relinked file that I chose, or that you chose. So let's say this brown on brown with the dark logo works very well. Let's say, that looks cool, but it would be, let's say the client said, yeah, I don't like that dark on dark. So if I embed this logo, I can go to edit and, or where is it? Edit, object. Edit and go to edit colors, and I can mess with this. But it has to be embedded, so let's look at that. It's all gray right now because it's not embedded. So I select the logo, I embed it. Now when I go to edit, edit colors, it gives me this, adjust color balance. And I can look at my logo, I can move this all I want, but you can't see anything happen until I hit preview. And as you can see, it gets darker or lighter. In this case, I just made it lighter and I hit OK. So that's how you get around that situation. But again, this one's not linked, so when I go to edit colors, I cannot select that feature until I embed it. Okay, so if I wanted to just drag something on here, like this fireman Hot Shots crew logo I did, put that on there. I can make a t-shirt design, just putting it on there. Let's say you had a Ferrari and they want, let's say you had a Aqua Golf Ferrari, you can put that on there. Alright, but let's say I wanted to do it like a lot bigger, and I don't want it to go on the windows or the tires or anything. Let's say they wanted it like that. Let's, for a better example, let's say they wanted it like that. Right there. Okay, so then I can create a mask so that it does not interfere with the windows. So here's a shape that I just created with the pen tool. I'll have that shape selected, hit shift and also select my logo, and I'll do right click, make clipping mask. Actually, that was a bad example because I'm supposed to mask off the car, not the window. So let me back up. Let's get rid of that. So, for example, I need to have the car paint selected. Okay, so I'm taking the pen tool and I'm just doing a shape where I want the logo to show. So these are all the parts I want the logo to show. Okay, so I have that. That's going to be my mask. Now I got to select my logo as well by hitting shift, left click. Now they're both selected, my mask and my logo. I'm going to right click, hit make clipping mask. Okay, so look at that. It cut off the sections I don't want. You can take your white, you can select this, and if you wanted to edit your clipping mask, you still can. You got to find the edge here and see that. I can drag that around. Okay, so you can still edit your shape of your mask. So you might want to just do it real quick and then refine it later. See that? So that's pretty cool. You might want to use that feature. Because it's not like Photoshop where I can just take an eraser and erase that. Because this one's not a vector logo. So you can bring in a JPEG, you can bring in a PNG. If you brought in a PNG, you're going to have a clear background. That's nice. But let's talk about what if you had a vector logo. So this is a vector logo, and it's not just a flattened JPEG or anything. It's actually got the vector parts to it. This is built in the Illustrator, and I brought it into Illustrator. See, the other logos are just these boxes because they're just like a photograph. This is actually a vector image. I hit Command Y to do that wireframe mode, by the way. So you got this. If it's selected, you can still use the eraser tool, but it damages a lot of things. Okay, so you can, but it doesn't work like Photoshop where it just like erases it. It does a lot of weird things, like my stroke that's yellow is still showing, and so I wouldn't recommend that for like cutting things. I would recommend this mask idea. So let's say you have a logo and I want to put it on this binder, but if I just put it on there, it just doesn't match. It doesn't look like it's actually in perspective as the binder is. This binder's at a 3/4 view. I don't want to see this. Don't turn this in. If I see this turned in, I'm going to get really upset because that just does not look real or believable. So I want you to do your best in making these mock-ups look real or believable. So I can select the logo, and right here I have a free transform tool. If I click down on it, you may have some other icon, but if you click down on it, you got a couple different options. You might see it as a puppet work tool or this little push pin. If you hold down on it, you can go to free transform, and then a couple options come up here. You got a perspective distort, which does this. See that? Undo. Or you got a free distort, which does something like this. Okay, so this is going to help you get things looking in perspective. Okay, so if you were going to do something at an angle like this, I want to see the logo on it at an angle as well, in perspective. So we talked about embedding logos, we talked about converting fonts to outlines, we talked about just laying images over other images to create mock-ups, we talked about masking, and we talked about distorting vector images. See that? It doesn't work on just regular, it has to distort on a vector image. So if you got any questions, let me know, but this is how you'll do mock-ups in Illustrator. And you can pick anything you want. It could be a Ferrari, a Learjet, a coffee cup, a binder, some bags. It could be a purse. It could be whatever you want. I don't care what it is. Just do a group of a bunch of mock-ups for me. Okay, if you want to use your logo, that's okay. If you want to create a new logo and use that, that's okay. You can do whatever you want. I just want to see mock-ups. I want to see you use Photoshop to do it. I want to see you use Illustrator to do it. So, or both. You can use whatever you want. Alright, so good luck, guys. Give me a holler if you have any questions. Hit me up on Canvas, and have a great day.